It is in moments of great challenges, great risks that threaten sustainable development, that men of vision and passion rise up to lead us, to show us what must be done. And so, inspired by Chairman Emeritus Oscar M. Lopez, the Lopez Group of Companies established the Oscar M. Lopez Center for Climate Change Adaptation and Disaster Risk Management Foundation. Funded and supported by the Lopez Group of Companies, we see ourselves as a catalyst for generating science-based solutions that help the Filipino adapt and prosper in the midst of climate-related risks and natural disasters. This drives us to support innovative solutions, initiate and develop a network of experts, provide a venue for the exchange of ideas and information, as well as strengthen linkages with government to reduce the impact of climate change and geohazards.
For more than 8 decades, our family has been involved in providing employment and social services to the Filipinos. But by 2007, there was an impetus for the family to focus on the environment. So on the same year of 2007, our family decided to invest in EDC to help the country shift from fossil to clean renewable energy. With the forestry experience of EDC, we augmented our effort to fight climate change by launching Binhi, which is a massive reforestation of indigenous trees. I note that while billions of resources are being allocated by government and foreign donors to build the resilience of communities for climate-related risks, however, there is less attention given to generate scientific information that will help us solve the problem. This convinced me to establish the center.
The Philippines is one of the most vulnerable countries to climate change. We get up to 20 typhoons every year. For example, last year, Typhoon Pablo caused more than $1 billion of damages, and more than 1,000 people died as a result of that typhoon. Now, with climate change, scientists are expecting that these disasters and climate risk will worsen. And so, science and technology has an important role to play in addressing these problems. Well, we have a very supportive and really fantastic board of directors headed by Mr. Oscar Lopez himself and his son, Mr. Piqui Lopez. They've been very supportive of our activities and our mission. We are also blessed to work with top universities in the Philippines, Ateneo, La Salle, and UP, and also some of the best scientists we have in our country.
Knowing that science and technology are the keys to a community's resilience, we believe science and scientists should be at the forefront to help us achieve sustainable development. We launched a program to award grants to innovative projects that focus on our core research areas to build climate-resilient communities through science-based solutions and inspire every Filipino to become a part of our movement. From all over the country, from our top universities, led by men and women of brilliance and passion, the OML Center will help turn these innovative projects into reality.
Basically, the project will be about weather forecasting. So in weather forecasting, what we do is we use softwares called models. And then models, what models do is to predict future weather. But the unique thing about this project is that we will be using users' feedback. So in a sense is that when users log on to the app or the website, what they can do is they can actually make inputs on the observations that they are doing.
So this project combines the science of large data and the technologies of mobile apps and mobile websites so that there can be an interaction between data on the internet and end users from all sectors of society. The data that is available over the internet is so vast that with this project, everything will be harmonized, checked for correctness and consistency or even completeness, and brought to literally the fingertips of the users who may be students, who may be local government unit leaders, who can be national policy makers.
The main aim of the project is to bring together the specialists and the community members closer to each other. And we aim to do this through information exchange. So what we're going to do is to create a web platform that will copy the function of a dating site. So it's an e-matching approach wherein community members will post queries to the website, and the moderator and the program will find a way to match this query with the appropriate specialist. And therefore, in a way also, the resulting information is customized to the needs of the community members.
This research study is focusing on the most vulnerable and the poorest sector in the society, the agricultural sector. So the main objective of the study is we really want to reduce the vulnerability of the hotspots in those particular areas, specifically in the municipalities of Paniki, Pura, and Ramos. This research is actually divided into two. You have the risk assessment, of course, the risk management. Under the risk assessment, there is a technical aspect of the research. This is where we model, or this also we do some mapping. If we really want to validate our technical results, we go to the different areas and we interview people. From the data, this can be used by our stakeholders for planning, for policy analysis, so that whenever there's a disaster that happens to them, they will be able to cope up with these disasters. We're going to put up a flood detector system in those three municipalities. Based on our literature, the flood is the most recurring hazard in those areas. We are also going to develop a guidebook that will be beneficial not only on those communities but of course in the entire countries. The guidebook will contain impacts of climate change. It will also contain the climate change adaptations and mitigations, and definitely the disaster risk reduction and management that are very much applicable to the agricultural sector.
What we're trying to do is essentially trying to develop what you might think of as a mathematical crystal ball. Basically, a mathematical model which is meant to predict what happens in the event of a disaster. And the point that this project addresses is that any one of these events will always have ripple effects. What we try to do is look at the economic repercussions of such disastrous events. And the methodology that we're trying to introduce now is called Inoperability Input-Output Modeling, or IIM. If we're successful, is that we have a computer model which can tell us, given any specific disastrous event, whether man-made or natural, we can predict the economic consequences in terms of loss of livelihood, loss of economic productivity, and loss of opportunities for economic growth. What we plan to do eventually is to have a public resource, a computer model which is available online, which any government agency or NGO or private firm can use to come up with basically scenarios. They could posit some scenarios, for example, what happens when we have a large earthquake in Metro Manila. And those scenarios can play out within the model, and the model will say these are the consequences. And thus, any particular government agency, say, can use such predictions to guide the policy development.
Actually, I came out with the idea because my friend's car was swept away 2 times because of flood. And then sabi niya, di ba engineer ka? Bakit hindi ikaw ang gumawa nitong tong device na to? Then I said, oo nga no. And then it came to me na, yeah, engineers should provide the solutions to these kinds of problems. So I formed a team and then identified how each of the team members can contribute to this, the solution of this problem.
Designing the mechanical for the flotation device. it involves a lot of phases. The first phase will be the simulation phase. So, meaning there will be several design concepts, mechanical design concepts that will be generated and will be tested in a model, as a model, and simulated. By creating this device, we hope that we can touch people's lives and hopefully they would see really the benefits of engineering in their lives.
We are grateful to the OML Center for this project. It seeks to describe what this risk means at the local level. You know, we can look at all these global issues, but then in the end, we have to see how global climate change or disasters will play out locally.
We focused on Davao, Davao City and Davao Oriental and Iloilo because there was a demand for assistance to do satellite-based exposure and vulnerability in the form of land use and cover.
The project is a high-resolution climate analysis that will be made possible, particularly to look at the historical changes that have been taking place in the climate of these areas and looking a little bit at the future, the scenarios having taken into consideration climate change. So how will climate change begin to change disaster risk in these areas? We try to enable enlightened decision making regarding development issues through the application of science that we actually support. So the project is meant to be mainstreamed into local, national, and regional governance in order for science to make a change.
Deeper challenges call for greater resolve and a stronger response. Let us inspire a greater sense of responsibility within every Filipino to make a difference.
This is just the beginning. A safer, more empowered future lies ahead. And we're all a part of it.
Empowerment is key.
That every big challenge is no match for shared knowledge.
And driven by our responsibility as Filipinos.
We are going to innovate in the way we respond.
To lead in transforming modern life.
Because every Filipino can be a hero for the environment.
The Oscar M. Lopez Center for Climate Change Adaptation and Disaster Risk Management Foundation. Science for climate resilient communities.